Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started with our final exam review. For the first one, you needed to use 3 different formulas. First formula we need to use is our midpoint formula, which is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. You need to find the midpoint between these 2 points because that will give you the center of the circle. So you should label your points x1, y1, x2, y2. So when we set this up, we have -4 plus 2 divided by 2, comma, -2 plus 6 divided by 2. -4 plus 2 is -2 divided by 2 and 4 divided by 2. And if you see a mistake, please let me know. -1, comma 2. This is your center. Now we have to find what? What are we supposed to find? The diameter, not the diameter. The radius. And how do you find the radius?
That's the one with the square root, right?
Yes.
The long square root?
Very good, very good, very good.
Which one's the one with the H and K?
I don't know.
That's the equation of the actual circle. Okay? Okay. Alrighty, I was trying to graph this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the 2 points they give you. There's a circle going like this. We found the center at 1, 2. That's the middle. But now you're trying to find the distance from here to here. From your center to one of the endpoints. It doesn't matter which one you use. The formula for that one, distance, square root, x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared, plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. Because this point's already labeled x sub 1, y sub 1, I'm going to go ahead and label this one now, x2, y2. This one down here, your center. So you're finding the distance between the center and one of your endpoints. It doesn't matter which one you choose, you're still going to get the same answer.
The question is x2 minus x1 squared and the y2 minus y1.
Yep, it should be squared. Thank you. 2 squared. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we have x2 minus a -4 squared plus y2 minus 2 squared. This is 5 squared. Just kidding. This is -3 squared plus 4 squared. This is 9 plus 16. This is the square root of 25, which is 5. This here is your radius. The equation of the circle, which is the one somebody was mentioning earlier, is this one. Please keep in mind your center is also HK. Your radius is right there. So this becomes x minus a -1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals to 5 squared. X plus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals to 25. Your official final answer is that one right there. Your official final answer. Now, this is being recorded, so please keep in mind, you get to see it tonight, tomorrow, before you come in here on Wednesday. You can do this. Forget about Netflix, binge watch this video over and over and over. All right, any questions? Number 2, we're looking for domain. Domain, when it comes to a rational function, the only thing you're concerned with is your denominator. Now, my denominator has a square root of 1 minus 4x. When we're talking about the denominator, it should never be what number? 0, because if it's 0, it's undefined. But also, because it's inside the square root, your number can never be what? Negative. So it cannot be negative, it cannot be 0. Therefore, I have to take whatever's inside the square root, set it greater than or equal to 0. Oh, just kidding. It's just greater than, not greater than or equal. It has to be greater than 0 because you don't want it to be negative, and then cannot be equal because it's in the denominator. And there it is. So 1 minus 4x is greater than 0. We solve for x, so we subtract 1. I get negative 4x is greater than a negative 1. We divide by negative 4. So I get x is something to positive 1/4. What happens to your inequality symbol when you divide by a negative number? It flips. So this is your answer and interval. If they're going to give you a number line at the 1/4, it's an open circle and it's everything to the left. If they give it to you with a set builder notation, it's negative infinity 1/4. It depends which way. All those 3 things, they mean the same thing. This, and this, they all mean the same thing. Negative infinity. Apparently, I have to rewrite it. It's negative infinity because it's going into everything less than a 1/4. Number 3, you have an equation, or you want to find the equation of a line that passes 3, negative 2, and is perpendicular to the line. They give you this line. What do they want you to get from this line? The slope is correct. So I have to solve for y in order to figure out what the slope is. We divide by 4, we divide by 4, we divide by 4. Y equals negative 3/4 x plus 5/4. So the slope for this line is negative 3/4. But the word they use here is perpendicular. So if I have to use a slope that is perpendicular, what do I have to do with that slope? Flip it. And if it's negative, it stays, it becomes positive, sorry. If it's negative, it becomes positive. You don't have to put the little plus, but I'm just letting you know. Because the one down here in the bottom was negative, you need to do the opposite reciprocal. This is the slope I have to use, and here's the point that they give you. And then we use this formula. So I'll give you a minute head start so you can start plugging in the point and the slope into that formula and start working it out.
We plug in the perpendicular one, right?
Yes, the one on the far left. Are we good? Is this what you got?
Yep.
Y equals 4/3 x minus 4. There's my work. Look at your work and see if it's exactly the same thing. Now, number 4 is one of the questions that most of you missed on your actual test whenever we're covering this section. You're finding the difference quotient. We need to do one part at a time. So we're going to do that f of x plus h. What does it mean when you see f of x plus h? I have to substitute what for what? Who do I plug in for x?
X squared plus 3.
I plug in x plus h for the x.
Oh, wait, what?
This is f of x plus h. So you substitute this x with x plus h. So this here means x plus h squared plus 3. That means x plus h plus 3. We do FOIL. X times x squared. X times h times x is still xh, and h times h is h squared plus 3. X squared, these two could be combined. This here is that part right there. The f of h, x plus h. When I see negative f of x, it just means negative x squared plus 3. So what happens here? Both of those become what? Negative. So this becomes negative x squared, negative 3. So I'm just going to write those two things next to each other once again. What's in pink is the first part. What's in green is the second part. We're going to put them together, all of them in the numerator, and then divide by h. So this becomes x squared plus 2xh plus h squared plus 3 minus x squared minus 3, all of it divided by h. This part, I just wrote it all together from the other two parts. When I look at this, I should be able to see, hey, there's an x squared, there's a negative x squared. Cancels. There's a positive 3, there's a negative 3. So what do we have left over? 2xh plus h squared divided by h. We could factor out the h in the numerator. h, 2x plus h divided by h. Now these h's cancel. Final answer, 2x plus h. There's your first 4 problems out of your 21. Number 5, given f of x is 3x plus 1 and g of x is x squared minus 2x minus 6, what is f of g of negative 2? Now, this may look weird to you, but this is the same thing as having f of g of negative 2. So what does that mean to you? What should I do first?
Plug in the g into the f.
Before that,
Plug in the negative 2 into the g of x.
that's the first thing. And this one is like you're working backwards. So I have to first do g of negative 2. That's the first thing you're supposed to do. So g of negative 2 means negative 2 squared minus 2 times negative 2 minus 6. Negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 2 times a negative 2 is a positive 4 again. And then we have a minus 6. This is 8 minus 6, which is a 2. So that means g of negative 2 gave me a 2. So now I'm going to go here and substitute this g of negative 2 with a 2. Because that's what I got right there. What is f of 2? 3 times 2 plus 1. 6 plus 1 is 7. And there's your final answer. So we first do this part. There's my answer. We put it here, and then we plug it into function f. Looking at number 6, describe how the graph of f of x negative x plus 2 squared minus 1 can be obtained from y equals x squared. So what does this negative do to your graph from the original? Reflection over x-axis. Very good. That's the first thing. What does this plus 2 do? Left 2 units. Perfect. And then what does this minus 1 do?
So is the final answer for number 5, 7?
Yeah. Where does it go?
Down 1.
Down 1. And that's what that minus does. So you need to know what each part of that equation, what does it do?
So what is the square of the quadratic?
It's a quadratic, yes. So basically your original graph is here. They want you to move left 2, 1, 2, down 1, and then it opens down because it reflects. There it is. It'll be something like that. Number 7, given that f of x is x plus 3 over y, is a 1-to-1, find the formula of the inverse. When we were covering inverse, we had to, what did we do with the x and y?
What?
When we were doing inverse, there's a couple of rules. First one was replace f of x with y, and then switch x and y. And then we solve for the new y, right? So this is really y equals x plus 4 over x minus 3. But we just said we have to do what? Switch. So it becomes x equals y plus 4 over bloop, 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 bloop. Y minus 3. So you change your f of x to y, and then you switch x and y's. What would we have to do in a problem like this? We put the x over who?
1.
1. Very good. Why do we do that? To have a fraction equals to a fraction. And then what can I do? Cross multiply. Exactly what we could do. So we have x times y minus 3 equals 1 times y plus 4. So this becomes xy. This becomes minus 3x equals y plus 4. So we distribute the x, we distribute the 1. Your goal when you get to something like this is to move your y's to one side. And it's always recommended that you move it to the left. So who should we move over first?
3x.
The 3x, we move it to the other side. Perfect. We could do that. xy equals y plus 3x plus 4. What can we do next? Subtract y. X minus y equals 3. Oops, I forgot. I forgot that xy minus y equals 3x plus 4. What do x, y, and y have in common? A y. When I factor out the y from the first term, I have x left over. When I factor out y from here, we have a minus 1. How do you solve for y? Divide by x minus 1. That is correct. So my final answer would be the inverse of the function is 3x plus 4 over x minus 1. That would be the final answer. It stays like that. This is, besides the difference quotient and this one are the two of the hardest ones, but the answer is there. You choose either A, B, C, or D. I mean, there you have a 25% chance, right? Find the zeros of the function. If I'm looking for the zeros, what can I do? You can factor by hand or just go straight and use which formula? You could just use a quadratic formula if you wanted to. Because what if you can't factor? You try, but it's not possible. So when it's asking for this, please make sure you use this formula. Just to save your, to save you time. That's just it. Negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all of it divided by 2a. Now, if you factored it and you solved it like that, we should still get the same answers. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's a different.
This is number 8, right?
This is number 8, yes. Does that help?
Yeah.
So, my A is 3, my B is 8, and my C is 2. X equals negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Oops, that's not a 2. It should be a 3. Eight squared is 64. 4 times 3, negative 12 times 2, negative 24 over 6. 64 minus 24, 40. Negative 8 plus minus the square root of 40 divided by 6. We look at 40 and we ask ourselves, hey, can I break that 40 down, hopefully into a number that I could take the square root of? And the answer is square root of what times square root of what? Maybe you're thinking 8 times 5, but can you take the square root of either 8 or 5? No. 4 times 10, because can we take the square root of 4?
Yes.
Yes. So negative 8 plus minus, what's the square root of 4? 2. Square root of 10 over 6. When you see these three numbers, they're all even. So you could reduce by 2, which gives me negative 4 plus minus square root of 10 over 3. This here is your final answer. You cannot reduce the square root of 10, but you reduce all the other numbers. 8 divided by 2, 4. 2 divided by 2 is 1. That's why we didn't put anything in front. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. Are we good? So I know everybody has the answers and you're just checking because you guys worked so hard over the weekend. Mentirosos.
I know.
Alrighty.
How does that work?
Hmm?
How does that work?
How does what work?
Should reduce everything by 2?
Everything's divisible by 2. That's it.
Using the numerator.
Huh?
How does that work?
If I have 8 divided by 6, could you reduce that?
Oh, yeah.
It becomes 4 over 3. If I have 2 over 6, can you reduce that?
Yeah.
1 over 3.
These other ones invisible.
It's in there. It's in there somewhere.
Just making sure.
It's
You
okay.
don't have to
Think.
put it though, right?
No. And remember, it's going to be multiple choice.
Oh, okay.
It's not going to be there. Number 9, find the range of the range and the equation of the axis of symmetry given that. The formula for the axis of symmetry is x equals negative b over 2a. That is the formula for the axis of symmetry. In order to find the range, you need to find the vertex. So what's going to help you with the range, determining who your vertex is? And your vertex is also negative b over 2a, and then f of negative b over 2a. What does that mean? If you don't remember, we'll review it right now. First thing is, let's find that axis of symmetry by doing negative b over 2a. Negative becomes a positive 10 over 4. And a positive 10 over 4 is reduced to what?
5 over 2.
5 over 2. This here is your axis of symmetry. X equals 5 over 2, which is 2.5, in case you needed to know that. So that means my vertex is also 5 over 2, because that's what negative b over 2a is. But now I have to do f of negative b over 2a. What does that mean? I have to plug in who for what?
5 over 2 into 2x squared minus 10x plus 4.
Very good. I have to plug in this number in for every x. So in order to do that, I'm just going to go over to Desmos over here. And I don't remember the formula, but I think it's 5 divided by 2. Oh, not there.
Squared
Squared
minus 10
minus 10 parentheses 5 over 2
plus 14.
plus 14. 14? Yeah.
Yeah.
The answer is 1.5 if the answer is 3 over 2. There it is. So let's go back over here. So we plug this in. Let me write it down in case.
Did that answer something?
Hold your horses. 5 over 2, what do we do? 5 over 2 squared minus 10, 5 over 2 plus 14, and I got 1.5, which is 3 over 2. That means that is my y value for the vertex.
Oh, okay.
Now, a vertex, we need to understand, is the tip of that parabola. So I have at 1.5 and 2.5, which is about right there. That's my vertex. This point here, and I wrote it down wrong. Blip, sorry. It's 2.5 and 1.5 right there. 2.5, 1.5. That's the vertex. Is this vertex going to open up or down? Up is correct. How do we know it opens up? Because your 2 is what? Positive. So when it opens up, and the question is asking, hey, what is your range going to be? It starts off at what y value? 1.5, which is 3/2, and it opens up, so that's why it goes into positive. So this is why you need to know your vertex, because the y value of your vertex tells you what is going to be the number you're going to use for the range. Because range is y. Y is range. It opens up, so it goes into positive. If it would have opened down, what would have happened? Negative infinity to a positive 3 over 2 if it would have opened down. But that's not the case. But I'm just giving it to you because what if in your test it's like that?
So if it was negative 2x, it would have been down.
If it would have been that negative, that would have meant that it opens down. Exactly. The A, the first number, the number in front of the x squared determines if it opens up or opens down. Now, when we look at number 10, given the quadratic function, blah, 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 find a vertex of its graph. So,
Our equation part from number 9, is it that long one?
huh?
The equation part, is that the long one?
What equation? This one?
It says, an equation.
The equation of the axis of symmetry is this one. It's just x equals 2 over, that's the axis of symmetry.
This one memorize all these equations.
This is the axis of symmetry.
We don't,
The axis of symmetry is the line. X equals 2.5 is this little line that comes down the middle of it.
So we don't need an equation, even though it says equation?
This is the equation. X equals.
that's it?
Because it says x equals, that's an equation. That's your equation. For number 10, you're going to be using the same formula for this one. So go ahead and try to do that one. The vertex, that's all it's asking for. Find the vertex of its graph. So go ahead and start working on that one.
And to do that, you have to find.
Negative b over 2a. Just follow that formula. Negative b over 2a. Negative b over 2a.
Well, there's nothing there, you just plug in there, right?
Yeah, it's in the should to be a 1. That is correct. Negative b over 2a, negative 2 over 2, which is a negative 1. Is that correct? And then what do we do with this negative 1? We plug it into the function.
I got positive. Wait, it is positive one. Yeah. Because it's negative.
Oh, you are correct. Negative 1, positive 1. That's why I have you guys. So this becomes a negative 1 plus 2 plus 8.
So is it f of negative 1 or
Positive 1.
9?
So negative 1 plus 10, which is 9. So my answer is 1, 9. This is your vertex. Are we good? Sure.
Ooh, my favorite.
Synthetic division.
I think this is here though because I did the.
Mhm. What happened?
So does the exponent go first or the negative go first?
The exponent and this exponent. So 1 squared is 1, but then after you get the 1, you multiply it times the negative, so that's why it remains
Okay, because I
negative.
did negative, then.
Okay. Yeah.
Got it.
Alrighty, synthetic division. Are we missing any numbers?
X squared.
We're missing x squared, so I have to put 1, 0, negative 3, and 10. Because I am missing the x squared. If it says x minus 2, I'm supposed to use a positive 2 here. We bring down the 1. That's a 2. This is 2. That's a 4. That's a positive 1. That's a 2. And this is a 12. The question is just asking for who? The remainder. So there it is.
You don't have to put it over
No, it's just asking for the remainder, so it's just going to be 12. Now, if it would have said, hey, write out the equation like your final answer, please keep in mind this is remainder, this is constant, this is x, and this is x squared. So it would have been x squared plus 2x plus 1 plus 12 over x minus 2. Now, this remainder theorem, it's the same thing we just did right now, or it just means plug in a -2 in there, and whatever you get, that's your answer. So this just becomes 2 to the 4th plus, it's -2. -2 squared minus 10 times the -2 plus 1. That's all you have to do for that question right there, f of -2. So just plug in the value. -2 to the 4th is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. -2 squared is 4 plus 20 plus 1. So when you add all this together, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57. That is correct. Final answer, 57. That's the remainder. If we would have done synthetic, we would have gotten the same answer. What?
I did synthetic, and I got 17.
All right, let's do synthetic so you could see. Did you put 2, 0, 1, -10, and 1?
Yes.
Did you put a -2 out here?
No.
Oh, but that's why. This is already your x value. They didn't give you an equation. So that's -4. That's a +8. That's a -18. That is a +56. And that is a 57. So either way you do it, synthetic or plugging in the value, you're still going to get the same answer. Okay?
You have to do both.
No,
It says
it's, I know, but you just do one, whatever makes you happy. All right, we're going to skip 13 and go on to 14. We're doing G of f of x. Here we have to plug in function f for every x in G. So what does that mean? This here, oh, of course, what did I do? Sorry. This becomes the cube root. Just kidding, it's the other way around. Sorry. I'm thinking too much. Function G is x cubed minus 1. Who do we plug in for the x?
3
Cube root
cube root.
of x plus 1. What happens with your cube root and your cube? They're going to cancel. And what are you going to have left over? X plus 1 minus 1. And that becomes what? X. Because 1 and -1 cancels.
Oh, did you?
Alrighty. We're going to skip 15 for now. Find log base 100. And this is where you're supposed to use your calculator. Round to 4 decimal places. How do we type this into the calculator? Log of what divided by log of what?
I don't miss this.
It's all good.
post it.
Log of 0.3 divided by log of 100. Your base always goes in the bottom. Now, if you have a graphing calculator, there might be the one with the little subscript. You just type it in just the way you see it.
That's alpha y equals.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No,
Now I know I got this question going on.
of course. So when you go to your to your scientific calculator, the ones that are here, it is a fraction. We do need log on top, log on the bottom. We do need 0.3 there and 100 in the bottom. And it says to round how many decimal places? 4. So it becomes 0.2614.
Is it negative?
Yeah. Negative 0.2614. There's your answer.
I would have second guessed myself. Oh, that's what it. Okay, I see it now.
Alrighty. Number 17. A wood sculpture carves 3 types of statues. Some poles, some bears, and some deers. Each statue requires carving, sanding, and painting. The sculptor spends 2 hours carving, 1 hour sanding, 3 hours painting for the pole, and then blah, 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 blah. So it has to use Gauss elimination or Gauss Jordan.
X, Y, Z.
Who is going to be X, who's going to be Y, and who's going to be Z?
X is gonna be X. Bears is Y. Bulls is gonna be X. So bears is Y. Deers is Z.
Okay, that's what you think that is?
Yeah. Are we wrong?
I don't know. At the very end, look at what it says. Carving, sanding, and painting. So, I never said you were wrong. I never said you were wrong. When we're talking about carving, I have 2 hours for the pole. That's what you're going to spend carving. For the bear, we're going to spend also how many? 2 hours. And for the deer, he's going to spend 1 hour. Together, he's going to spend 14. So we have 2x plus 2y plus 1z equals 14. 2 hours for the pole, 2 hours for the bear, 1 hour for the bear. For the deer equals to 14 hours of carving. And then I'm going to do another 1 hour sanding, 2 hours sanding, 2 hours sanding, and that should equal. So x plus 2y plus 2z equals 15. And then we have 3 hours painting, 2 hours painting, 2 hours painting for a total of 21. Ah la la.
And they're all worth the same amount of points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Cool. But you guys need to understand this. Hold on. Oh my God, I can't even write the last sentence. 3x plus 2y plus 2z because it says 3 equals 21. So it says use Gaussian elimination to figure out how many of each they did. Alrighty, so we set up our matrix 2, 2, 1, 14, 1, 2, 2, 15, 3, 2, 2, 21. So the first thing that we should do is interchange row 1 with row 2. So this becomes 1, 2, 2, 4, 15. Thank you. 2, 2, 1, 14. 3, 2, 2, 21. But now we have to make a 0. To make a 0, opposites of the number you're trying to make a 0 times the row that has a 1 plus the row where you're trying to make that 0. So negative 2 times 1 plus 2. negative 2 times 2 plus 2, negative 2 times 2 plus 1, and negative 2 times 15 plus 14. Everybody's favorite, I know. 1, 2, 2, 15. This becomes 0. That's a negative 4 plus 2, which is a negative 2. Negative 4 plus 1, which is a negative 3. Negative 30 plus 14, which is a negative 16. So we've accomplished the 1, 0. But now we have to make another 0 for the 3. Opposite of the number you're trying to make a 0 plus times the row, which the 1 is in, plus the row where you're trying to make that 0. Negative 3 times 1 plus 3. Negative 3 times 2 plus 2. Negative 3 times 2 plus 2. And negative 3 times 15 plus 21. This is 0. That's negative 6 plus 2, negative 4. Negative 6 plus 2, negative 4. Negative 45 plus 21. Is that negative 24? I think so, right? Are we good so far? So we're done with the first column, but now we have to make this guy into a 1. How do you do a 1? Reciprocal. Negative 1/2 times row 2. Negative 1/2 times 0. Negative 1/2 times a negative 2. Negative 1/2 times a negative 3. And a negative 1/2 times a negative 16. First row stays the same. 0, 1, 3 over 2, 8. 0, negative 4, negative 4, negative 24. Now we have to make this guy into a 0. Opposite of a negative 4? Positive 4. Which row has the 1 that we're going to be using for that negative 4? Row 2 plus row 3. 4 times 0 plus 0. 4 times 1 plus negative 4. 4 times 3 over 4 plus negative 4. 4 times 8 plus a negative 24. 1, 2, 2, 15. 0, 1, 3/2. 8. And this is a 0. Does this become a 0? Yes. 12 divided by 2 is 6 plus a negative 4 to positive 2. 32 plus a negative 24 is a positive, is it 8? I think so. One step away. The last step is we have to make that 2 into a 1. And you do that by half of row 3. Half of 0, half of 0, half of 2, and half of 8. So last thing, 1, 2, 2, 15. 0, 1, 3/2 and 8. 0, 0, 1, and 4. So from here, we're so close, but still not there. X plus 2y plus 2z equals to 15. Y plus 3/2 z equals to 8, and Z is 4. C is 4, we get it from there. Because we know Z is 4, we get to plug it in here. Y plus 3 over 2 times 4 equals to 8. Y equals, not equals, plus 6 equals to 8. We subtract 6. Y is 2. And we take these two and we plug them in there to solve for x. X plus 2 times 2 plus 2 times 4 equals to 15. 4 plus 8. What's 4 plus 8?
12.
We subtract 12. X equals 3. So there was 3 poles, 2 bears, and 4 deers. So when I mean check your answers, this is what you would plug in for every X, Y, and Z and the 3 equations that you got in the beginning. But if you don't have those equations, then you don't have anywhere to plug them in. So please understand your answer choices are going to be A, B, C, D, and this, you're going to have 3. And maybe I'll have it in words. Maybe I'll say 3 poles, 2 bears, 4 deers, whatever.
Can you show me 4R2 plus R3?
All right, we're taking a break really quick. All right, number 18, we're going to have to use logarithmic properties. Division becomes subtraction, multiplication becomes addition. So the first thing that we should focus on here is the subtraction. The division. So this becomes log base 4 of 8 times the cube root of x minus log base 4 of y squared. This front part, before we do anything, we need to take care of these exponents.
Does that say 0.3 or times 3?
Times the cube root of 3. Just so we understand that there is times right there. So this first becomes log 4 of 8. Sorry. X to the 1/3. Please remember, cube root is the same thing as the power of 1/3. So let's keep it like this for now. Because this is being multiplied, what happens to it? We need to rewrite it as a what?
Fraction.
No?
Addition. My goodness.
Division.
Multiplication becomes addition, dear children. And then what do we do with our exponents? Where do they have to go? To the front. To the front. To the front. So this becomes log base 4 of 8. There should be a 4 there and a 4 there. For some reason they weren't. Plus 1/3 log base 4 of x minus 2 log base 4 of y. That is your final answer. So subtraction and division are the same thing. The addition and multiplication are the same thing. And we need to move those exponents to the front. So that's the final answer for number 18. So so having said that, this subtraction is going to become a what? What is this? This subtraction, what does it mean? Division.
Good.
So this becomes log base 2 x plus 20 over x plus 2 equals log base 2 of x. When you are solving, the first thing you have to do is condense. So we're condensing those two logs on the left side using the property that subtraction becomes division. But then when you realize, hey, I have a log base 2 and a log base 2, what can we do?
Combine them.
You what?
Cancel.
Cancel. Very good. They go goodbye. So what do we have left over? X plus 20 over x plus 2 equals x. Where do we put that x? Over 1. So we could,
Cross multiply.
yes, except that was not a highlighter. So no, it's pretty. We cross multiply. So this becomes x plus 20 equals x plus 2. X plus 20 equals x squared plus 2x. What should we do after we distribute the x? Everything should go where? To the right. We subtract x, we subtract 20, we subtract x, we subtract 20. X squared plus x minus 20 is equal to 0. This here, you could factor out two numbers that multiply to 20 and add up to 1.
4 and 5.
4 and 5. Who's who?
-4, +5. No.
Negative,
5.
positive 4, negative 5. Because it's a positive 1. Now, we're still not done. You have to set them equal to 0. You subtract 5, you subtract 5, x is a negative 5, and x is a positive 4. Because I have two answers, does it mean that they both work?
No, it has to be 4.
Very good. It has to be only the 4 is your answer. The negative 5 does not, because it's going to make that a negative, and you cannot have a log of a negative number. Are we good?
Yes.
Awesome. Number 20, you have to solve.
This is the one you use LN.
Very good. We have to put an ln on each side. So this becomes ln of e, 2x plus 5, equals ln of 40. What happens anytime the LE and the E are next to each other?
Cancels.
So this just becomes 2x plus 5 equals natural log of 40. What do we do to leave x by itself?
-5.
Now, please understand this. You do not subtract the 5 from the 40. The 40 belongs to the ln, so you cannot subtract. This becomes 2x equals natural log of 40 minus 5. But now I still have to do what? Divide by 2. So we plug this into the calculator. Desmos, where are you? Fraction. Natural log of 40, close parentheses, minus 5 divided by 2. Negative 0.6555. How many decimals does it say to round to? 4. Negative 0.6556. There's your answer.
Why did we skip those ones earlier? Just cause. I'll just wait.
Estimate the population size in 2022 when they give you this. So they tell you that in 2011, this is your population. That is your initial population. So this becomes 25.67. They're telling you this is your growth rate. That represents your K. But we need to change it to a decimal, 0.0204. How many years are occurring from 2011 to 2022? 11, so we multiply this times 11. Once I do that, that's my answer. Once you plug that into the calculator, we should be A-OK. So we go over here. I'm trying my best to do two things at a time here.
32 point. How many decimals?
No sé. 25.67. Don't forget the E is going to be there. To the exponent of 0.0206 times 11. 32 point, what does it say? Estimates.
It doesn't.
I think it's just 2 since the answer is 2 decimals. So 32.20.
Our K equals what?
I don't know.
Sometimes I've done that like that, but sometimes the parentheses mess it up. So
So
I
you
multiply it before I even.
Okay, that's fine. Your K was 0.0206, your percent as a decimal.
But like in other word problems, K equals what? What does K stand for?
Your growth rate.
Is it always like that?
If it's a decay, it could be a decay rate, but it's always a rate.
Oh, great. Okay.
A rate. All right. We're multiplying. Can we multiply A and B?
No.
It's a 2 by 2.
Yes.
Yes, you can. My two inner numbers are the same. So we have -5. Oh, Lordy.
Huh?
No, it's because they have B and A. All right, we're multiplying, and even though it has the variables there, so we have -5 times B plus 1 times 2. -5 times -2 plus 1 times 1. Row times column. 3 times B plus 1 times it's not 1.
A.
It's A. Thank you. A times 2. 3 times -2 plus A times 1. So please remember your rows need to stay the same. -5, 1, -5, 1, 3A, 3A, and then your columns need to stay the same. So when you multiply this, this becomes -5B plus 2.
We can't do nothing with that. Right?
Nope. This becomes 10 plus 1, which is 11. This becomes 3B plus 2A. And this becomes -6 plus A.
I don't like that. Is that what it is on the test?
If they put it like this, I haven't seen the test to be honest. But if they put it like that on the review, I'm sure that's the way it is. Alrighty. Almost done here. Almost. Last 3 problems. Let's do 23 and 25 because those are easier.
What was the fourth one?
So let's look at number 25 first. Given f of x is this, g of x is this, what is f plus g when they give you a 4? When they give you a number like this, please understand this means f of 4 plus g of 4. Because there's a plus sign. It's not with the little open circle. You're plugging in a 4 for each of those functions and then combining. So my f of 4 means 1 over 4 minus 2 plus the square root of 4. So you have to plug in a 4 for each of those functions. What's 4 minus 2?
2.
So this is 1/2. What's the square root of 4?
2.
So this becomes 2.5 or 5 over 2. I don't know how they'll give you the answer. Same thing. 2.5 for 2 or 5 over 2. Number 23. Determine the horizontal and vertical isotopes. Horizontal is the easiest one. Do you remember what you look for horizontal isotopes? Your exponents. If your exponents are the same, my answer was LC over LC. Do you remember what LC stood for?
Leading coefficient.
Leading coefficient. That's what it stood for. So y equals, who's my leading coefficient here?
2 and 1.
So we have 2 over 1, which is just 2. This here is your horizontal isotope. Y equals to 2. So for horizontal, you just look at your degrees. If they're the same, you just look at the leading coefficients. If the top one is bigger, you have to use synthetic division. If the bottom one is bigger, then it's just y equals to 0. But then this is also asking for you to find the vertical isotope. To do that, what do you have to do? Do you remember? Set denominator equal to 0. X squared minus 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. That means we need to find two numbers that multiply times a negative 3 and add up to a negative 2. It's 1 and 3, but who's who?
Negative 2. So negative 3 and positive 1.
Very good. So x plus 1, x minus 3. Set each one equal to 0. My answer is x negative 1. X is a positive 3. These are my vertical isotopes, my VAs. So vertical isotope, set denominator equal to 0. You factor out whatever you can. Last question. It looks like we're going to be doing the system. Get cute. You've had questions like that on your assignment. 1 cup serving of spaghetti with meatballs is 260 calories, 32 grams of carbs. A 1 cup of lettuce is 5 calories, 1 cup of carb. Determine how much you have to eat of each in order to eat 160 and 20 grams of carbs. So X is
Calories.
spaghetti and Y is lettuce. X is spaghetti, Y is lettuce. You have to do one equation with calories and one with carbs. So how many calories are there in spaghetti?
260.
260x plus the calories in lettuce, 5y. I want that to be equal to 160. And then we do the carbs in lettuce, 32, plus the carbs in lettuce, the carbs in spaghetti is 32. The carbs in lettuce is 1, and together I only want to consume 20. So these are the two equations you have. You have to either use elimination or substitution, or you could do the same thing with the other one, but this one's an easy one. What would be easier to do, elimination or substitution?
The one where you move 32 over.
Okay, so that is substitution. We subtract 32x, we subtract 32x. Y equals negative 32x plus 20. We take this and we plug it in for that y in the other equation. That is substitution. 260x plus 5 times a negative 32x plus 20 equals 160. When you substitute, it takes the place for the variable. So what is 5 times 32?
160.
Negative 160. So this becomes 260x minus 160x plus 100 equals 160. The two x's combine and I get 100x plus 100 equals 160. We subtract 100. And I get 100x equals to 60. We divide by 100. And I get x is 60 divided by 100, which is 0.6 serving of spaghetti with meatballs. Where do we plug in that 0.6 now?
The other equation.
In the other equation. So I go here, I have y equals negative 32 times 0.6 plus 20. 32 times 0.6 and negative 19.2 plus 20, which gives me a 0.8 serving of lettuce. So you can't even have 1 cup of lettuce or 1 cup of spaghetti and meatballs.
So,
13, number 13. So I'm gonna have to like go out there and work out on it.
Is that the one where you have to go to 0? Swap to 0?
Sort of, kind of. It the way they put it there, it's a little bit different. If I had number 13, where is it? There it is. 2x cubed minus x squared, 3x. All right. Everything needs to be on one side of that inequality. So that means I have to subtract the 3x, subtract the 3x. So we end up with 2x cubed minus x squared minus 3x is less than or equal to 0. What do they all have in common? So we factor out the x. This becomes 2x squared minus x minus 3 is less than or equal to 0. We need to factor out this equation the way we should know what we're supposed to do. So we get negative 6 and then negative 1. I have to use 2 and 3. Who has to be negative? The last one. So if we get x plus 2 and x minus 3, but now I have to divide by 2. So this becomes x plus 1 and 2x minus 3, correct? So we have x plus 1, 2x minus 3, less than or equal to 0. You're going to have to set each one less than or equal to 0. Not just equal, but we need to follow the inequality. So we have x is less than or equal to 0. X plus 1 is less than or equal to 0. 2x minus 3 is less than or equal to 0.
Wait, why'd you write a 1?
Oh, sorry. This was supposed to be a 0. So this one's already done because you can't do anything. But the next one I have to subtract 1, and I get x is everything less than or equal to 1, kind of, sort of. Because I'm saying it wrong. You should, yep, that sounds great too. You're supposed to see it as an equal sign. Forget what I said. You're supposed to see it as an equal sign for now. Equals to 0, equals to 0, equals to 0. Yes. Sorry.
So 0, negative 1, and 3 over 2?
Yes. So I have these 3 numbers. Are we good?
Mm-hmm.
On a number line, we have 0, we have 3 over 2, and we have a negative 1 here. Correct? Numbers from here to here are negative infinity to a negative 1. Numbers from here to here are negative 1 to 0. And numbers from here to here are 0 to 3.5. And then numbers. So here are my numbers that are negative 1, negative infinity to 0. Here, the only numbers that are in between there are negative 1 to 0. From here, it goes to 0 to 1.5, and then 1.5 to infinity. You need to see which intervals, and we have 4 different ones. You need to see which one will make the statement true. Meaning, you need to pick a checking point. Pick a number between negative 1 and negative infinity. What number would you pick?
2.
Negative 2.
No, 2.
Negative 2, because 2 is not there. What number would you pick from negative 1 to 0?
Negative 1.5.
Negative 0.5. Which number would you pick from 0 to 3.5?
1.
1 is the easiest. Which number will you pick from 1.5 to infinity? 2. These numbers that I'm circling here, those are your checking points. What does that mean? You plug it into this equation here. You're going to plug them in for x. These are your testing points for x. So if you have the calculator, so let me minimize this things here. This is the only thing. No, don't do that. Okay, so you have the equation, so hopefully I don't have to do this, but we have 2 parentheses. The first number we're going to try is what? -2 to the 3rd power minus -2 squared minus 3 -2. So I'm plugging in the -2 first for every x here. That's what I'm doing. My answer is -14. So I'm going to put a -14 down here. Then I'm going to go back to the same little thing and just put a 0.5. 0.5. And 0.5. And I get a +1.
Question.
Yeah.
Are the answer choices just going to be single numbers? And we can just...
I'll show you what the answer choices are going to be like. Then I'm going to plug in a +1, a +1, and a +1. And the answer is a -2. And then you plug in a -2, not a -2, but a +2. And the answer is a 6. So you just plug it into the equation. That's it. It's nothing new. It's nothing like, oh my God, I've never done that. You pick a testing number in between these intervals. Your answers are going to be one of these intervals. But what does this number say? Anything that is less than or equal to who? 0. Looking at these 4 numbers, which numbers are less than or equal to 0?
-14, -2.
-14, -2. Which are their intervals? -infinity to a -1 and 0 to 3/2. Because this says it's less than or equal to 0, you're looking for the numbers that are less than 0, which are the negative numbers. Therefore, these are my answers. So this is the way your answer choices are going to look. They're going to give you an interval from here to here, there to there. So if you don't want to do all the work, put everything to one side, look at the intervals that they give you. So if I would have given you -infinity to a -5, and I would have give you 2 to infinity, pick a -6, pick a 3. If that makes the statement true, then maybe it's those answers. And which was the other one that we skipped? 15. Where are you? Oh, no, trying to see what's a cubic function goes like this. An absolute value goes like that, and a quadratic goes like this. Which of the following has an inverse function? The absolute value is not going to have one. This one will. It'll be a cube root, and this one will also, with restrictions. But